Senate will come back to order. Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor that we are joined today by Brent Godfrey from Basin, Wyoming. Mr. Godfrey has served in several capacities in public safety for 50 years in Bighorn County. That's right, 50 years. The reading clerk will read the informal resolution we have for Mr. Godfrey.
The 68th Legislature of the State of Wyoming honors Brent Godfrey. A joint resolution providing for recognition of Brent Godfrey and expressing appreciation for his 50 years of service to public safety through his tenure in the fire service. Be it resolved by the 68th Legislature of the State of Wyoming, whereas Brent Godfrey began his fire service career with the Manderson Volunteer Fire Department in 1976. During this time, he worked to establish the Bighorn County Fire District 3, and whereas Brent Godfrey was appointed as the Bighorn County Deputy Fire Warden in 1987, the same year, he and his wife moved to Basin, where he began serving with the Basin Volunteer Fire Department, and whereas Brent Godfrey was appointed as the Bighorn County Fire Warden in 1993, and whereas Brent Godfrey has continued his career by serving as Assistant Fire Chief or Fire Chief of Basin Volunteer Fire Department since 1996, and whereas Brent Godfrey has also served as an emergency medical technician for 34 years and a deputy sheriff for 32 years. Now therefore be it resolved by the undersigned members of the 68th Legislature of the State of Wyoming that on behalf of the State of Wyoming, we sincerely thank Brent Godfrey for his 50 years of dedicated service to public safety.
Mr. Godfrey, on behalf of the Wyoming Senate, thank you for your service to our great state, sir, and God bless you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank all of you. It's a great honor.
Thank you. Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have privilege of the floor?
You bet.
Some of you may have noticed all the beautiful women that are up here all over the place. Many of these women, I don't know if it's all of them, but I think there's quite a few of them up there that were part of the Leap into Leadership that's been going on this week. And before I have them stand up, I would like to talk about just one of the, I call her the queen, former legislator Rosie Berger, who was one of the early, I don't know if you want to call her like the, she was the founder, basically, of the Wyoming Women's Leadership Conference, and she's up there somewhere, I know.
She's behind you right up there.
Oh, she's behind me.
Yep.
So let's have her stand up first and give her a hand. Without the Queen, we wouldn't go forward. But we also have another board member up there, Sandy Newsom, another former legislator. She'd stand up.
All right.
I don't know if Mary Throne is around. Is she around as well? She may not be. She actually still works, I guess, unlike some of us. So. But anyway, we would just like to give these ladies a big Wyoming welcome. They've been in classes this week, at least for the last couple of days. They've heard some brilliant women from around here. I heard this last panel was just amazing. But the last night, if you missed that, I know some of you folks actually, some of the senators actually made it to dinner last night, and it was an amazing dinner. And our speaker, Nina McConnelly, I probably pronounced her name wrong, but her mother was a former legislator and she was our guest speaker and she was amazing. So I hope many of these women will sometime down the road join us, either on the Senate floor, the House floor, or in our city councils, or our county commissions or somewhere in leadership positions after being in this awesome conference. I hope we continue with it year after year, and I just want to thank our 2 board members, particularly Sandy and Rosie. Let's give these guys a big hand.
All right, thank you. Welcome to the Senate Leap into Leadership. Senator Cooper,
Privilege of the floor, Mr. President.
floor is yours, sir.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, up here in the gallery on the north side, that little young feller sitting there on the end is a young man that I don't remember not knowing in my life. Very old and dear friend, Mr. Phil Schmelter from Orland, Wyoming. Please welcome him to the. Mr. President, a little sidebar on that. Phil's wife has a quilt in the art show downstairs, a sew-by-sew quilt of an Indian paintbrush. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I think that our good Sergeant at Arms has volunteered to buy that for his wife for a Christmas present, is what I've been told. So we want to make sure we thank him for that. So,
Sounds
Thank you,
good.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cooper, and welcome to the Senate, sir. Thanks for coming down. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. Well, Ellen just gave me a stack of enrolled acts to sign here. Don't do it. They are Senate files. All right, we're at that order of business, signing of enrolled acts. Senate Enrolled Act number 11.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 11, originally Senate File 16, subleasing of state lands, exemptions, and act relating to state lands.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 11, being original Senate File 16. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 12.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 12, being original Senate File 6, eligibility for Medicaid criteria, and act relating to medical assistance and services.
Thank you. I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 12, being original Senate File 6. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 13.
Senate Enrolled Act 13, being original Senate File 9, fentanyls to minors, enhanced penalty, and act relating to controlled substances.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 9, being original, excuse me. I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 13, being original Senate File 9. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 14.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 14, being original Senate File 17, Good Authority, Good Neighbor Authority Amendments, and act relating to state lands.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 17. Excuse me. I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 14, being original Senate File 17. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 15.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 15, being original Senate File 32, 911 funding, and act relating to emergency telephone service.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 15, being original Senate File 32. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act, is this all one big bill? Yes. Senate Enrolled Act number 16.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 16, being original Senate File 52, 2026 large project funding, an act relating to the Wyoming Wildlife and Natural Resource Funding Act.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act 16, being original Senate File 52. I'm so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 17.
Senate Enrolled Act number 17, being original Senate File 68, Water Districts Funds for Maintenance Project, an act relating to irrigation projects.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 17, being original Senate File 68. So signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 18.
Senate Enrolled Act number 18, being original Senate File 79, Sales and Use Tax Reorganization, an act relating to sales and use tax.
We're about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 19, being original Senate File 80. So signed. That's got some girth to it. Senate Enrolled Act number, oh, this is a House Enrolled Act. Oh, let's back it up. There was one stuck to the other one. Senate Enrolled Act number 18. There you go.
Senate Enrolled Act number 18, being original Senate File 79, Sales and Use Tax Reorganization, an act relating to sales and use tax.
Okay, I'll sign that bad boy. I have so signed. We need to reread in 80. 80 was the one that was stuck to the other one. Okay, Senate Enrolled Act number 19.
Senate Enrolled Act number 19, being original Senate File 80, Department of Revenue, Electronic Communication, an act relating to sales and use taxes.
All right, I already signed it. House Enrolled Act number 3.
House Enrolled Act number 3, being original House Bill 34.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 3, being original House Bill 34. So signed. Last but not least, House Enrolled Act number 4.
House Enrolled Act number 4, being original House Bill 35, an act relating to the Office of State Lands and Investments.
About to sign House Enrolled Act number 4, being original House Bill 35. So signed. All right, messages from the House.
Messages from the House of Representatives, all dated February 26, 2026. Mr. President, the following bills passed the House on third reading by the votes indicated. Senate File 9, Fentanyl to Minors, Enhanced Penalties. Ayes 58, noes 2, excused 2. Message number 209. Senate File 17, Good Neighbor Authority Amendments. Ayes 59, noes 1, excused 2. Message 210. Senate File 32, 911 Funding. Ayes 60, excused 2. Message 212. Senate File 52, 2026 Large Project Funding. Ayes 59, noes 1, excused 2. Message 213, Senate File 79, Sales and Use Tax Reorganization, Ayes 60, excused 2. Message 214, Senate File 80, Department of Revenue, Electronic Communication, Ayes 60, excused 2. Message 216, Senate File 6, eligibility for Medicaid criteria, ayes 55, noes 5, excused 2. Message 218, Senate File 68, Water Districts Funds for Maintenance Projects, ayes 53, noes 6, excused 3. Each signed Katie Talbot, House Chief Secretary.
All right, thank you, Tom.
There's more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
From the House of Representatives, dated February 26, 2026, message 208, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 10, contracts for holding and treating mentally ill detainees, passed on third reading in amended form by the vote indicated. Ayes 60, excused 2. Message 211, concurrence requested. Dated February 26, 2026, Mr. President, Senate File 41, portable benefit accounts, passed on third reading and amended form by the vote indicated. Ayes 60, excused 2. Message 215, concurrence requested, dated February 26, 2026. Senate Joint Resolution 1, State Management of Federal Mineral Leases, passed the House on third reading and amended form by the vote indicated. Ayes 60, excused 2. Message 217, concurrence requested, February 26, 2026. Mr. President, Senate File 45, local approval for simulcasting, passed on third reading and amended form by the vote indicated. Ayes 57, noes 3, excused 2. Each signed Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
All right, thank you. Concurrence request, Senator Anderson, are you ready on concurrence on message number 215? Senate Joint Resolution 1 engrossed. If you're
Yes,
ready.
Mr. President, I'm ready on concurrence 215.
All right, we'll have the reading clerk read the message.
Concurrence requested, Senate Joint Resolution 1, State Management Federal Mineral Leases.
Senator Anderson.
Mr. President, we don't object at all to, they changed the word royalty to leasing. That was okay. And then they took out one paragraph on page 5 that doesn't change anything for us as much. So we're okay with both of those changes. Thank you.
Senator, could you move concurrence on message number 215 for us?
Oh, Mr. President, I move concurrence on message number 215, Senate Joint Resolution 1, State Management Federal Mineral Leases.
And vote aye, I'm assuming?
And vote aye,
Oh,
yes.
Let's do it. All right, thank you. Discussion on the concurrence request. Seeing none, Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Concurrence request, Senate Joint Resolution Number 1. Roll call. Anderson? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Boner? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Crago? Aye. Crum? Aye. Dockstader excused. Driscoll? Aye. French? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Aye. Jones? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. Love? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Olson? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Pearson? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Beitman?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Concurrence on Senate Joint Resolution Number 1, 30 aye, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate Joint Resolution Number 1. Okay. Madam Majority Floor Leader, we are ready for consideration of bills on general file.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate resolve itself into Committee of the Whole.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Senator Cooper, time to get to work. All right, brother.
Committee of the Whole, come to order, please. Our first bill for consideration is House Bill 128. Will the reading clerk read the bill, please?
House Bill 128, Enhanced Oil Recovery Severance Tax Exemption, an act relating to taxation and revenue, sponsored by Representative Tarver, referred to Committee Number 9, which recommended a do pass as amended. Voting ayes, Senators Anderson, Cooper, Jones, Nethercott, and Rothfuss. Signed, Senator Anderson, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure? Senator Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, to do so with the recommendation that House Bill 128 do pass. And there is a standing committee amendment on that. Could I get that read in too, please?
House Bill 128, Standing Committee, Amendment Number 1, page 1, line 2.
Senator Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I move Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 128. And to explain that amendment, I'll explain it. What we did there on line 2, we took "and gas" out of that. This leaves it as tertiary oil production, and that's all this bill refers to. And to explain the bill, I will call on a material expert, a subject matter expert, Senator Barlow. Senator Barlow.
Senator Barlow.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know from the bill title, Enhanced Oil Recovery, oil and gas, minerals are so important to our state. And what this bill does is it provides an exemption for a portion of the severance tax. And if you'll take a look for a 5-year period. So what we're trying to do is actually encourage enhanced oil recovery, which is something that we utilize CO2 for, and encourage that incremental increase in oil production will have a 2% lower a severance tax. So currently, severance tax on oil and gas, obviously this is about oil, we struck gas from the bill in the Standing Committee Amendment, is 6%. This will reduce that down to 4% for that incremental increase based on the investment that these companies are making in increasing production. More production means more revenue to the state of Wyoming, but it does come at a cost for the companies. So while this may cost us in the short term, and you can look at the fiscal note, costs us some revenue, in the long term, it makes us hundreds of millions of dollars because of the increased amount of oil that's being produced. So I'd be glad to stand for any questions, and certainly there are far more expert folks on this, but when it comes down to the severance tax, this is literally helping those companies pay for this very expensive upgrades to enhance production, and that enhanced production benefits all of Wyoming. I stand for any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. I believe we have to dispose of that amendment first. Is that correct?
I thought we voted on. So, Mr. Chairman, as the good chairman talked about, the Standing Committee Amendment just strikes out "and gas" because it's not pertinent to this bill. It's actually in the title. So I'd ask for the call for the question. Vote aye on the Standing Committee Amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Senator Barlow. All those in favor of the Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to Senate File, House Bill 128, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Amendment Number 1 is passed Committee of the Whole. Any further discussion on the bill?
Question.
Question on the bill? All those in favor of Senator Anderson's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 128, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? House Bill 128 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 45. I believe that's Senator McEwen.
Read it in, read it in.
Oh, they better read it in first.
House Bill 45, Long-Term Homeowner Tax Exemption Revisions, an act relating to taxation engrossed, sponsored by Revenue, referred to Committee Number 3, which returned a do pass recommendation, voting aye, Senators Dockstader, Ide, McEwen, and Pappas. Excused, Senator Case, signed Senator McEwen, Chairman.
And what is your pleasure, Senator McEwen?
I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a recommendation that Senate File 45 do pass. Basically, this is the revision to the long-term homeowner tax exemption. What it does is it got rid of the sunset date. It put a cap of 3 million in it. The other thing we did with it is the exemption will actually follow the person and not the house. So if you live in a house for 13 years or 25 years and you're getting the exemption and you sell it and move to another house, that exemption will follow you to the new house. You don't have to restart the clock. And that's basically what this bill does, and I request an aye vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion, Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if the good chairman or someone from the committee would help remind me what the difference between assessed value is and fair market value, and how our county assessors are, the current law says assessed value, so I just want to know what the difference is for our assessors if we're now going to fair market value. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion? Seeing none? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Senator McEwen's, I'm sorry, Senator McEwen.
The actual difference between assessed value and fair market value, the way it's set up now, is really, they're synonymous. The fair market value comes from what the assessor puts down. Thank you.
Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm understanding correctly, the assessed value is a small percentage of the fair market value. I think in residential property generally, it's 9.5%. I think it might be a little less in this circumstance. But what goes on, Mr. Chairman, is that mineral production is assessed at 100% of fair market value, and then residential and the all other property is assessed at what has been a 9.5% rate. We've sometimes talked about changing that, and commercial property can be, or industrial property is assessed at 40%, up to 40% more than the residential value. So there's a three-tier system, Mr. Chairman, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong on the assessed valuation for the residential property that's included here, because we have done some exemptions on that. But that's the basic scheme, and really, it's a system, Mr. Chairman, where everybody pays a property tax, but Fortunately for all of us, the mineral industry pays the bulk of the property tax.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Senator Case?
Mr. Chairman, just by, every time I pick my computer up, it goes off. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The good tall senator is on the right track. You get the assessed value by taking the market value times the assessment ratio. That gives you the assessed value. This is a case where it doesn't matter where you knock the 50% off, because it's multiplication, and multiplication, it doesn't matter what order. So it's 50% of knocking off the assessed value, or 50% of knocking off the market value before you multiply it by the assessed ratio, yields the same number. And I hope you're all following me on that, but that's, so it's just math, Mr. Chairman. I still don't like the bill, but it's just math.
Senator McEwen?
I would totally agree with the senator from Bates Creek. I kind of took the quick way around. At the end of the day, the tax rate's 8.3, and it does not change the exemption with those two word changes in the bill. But it is different. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion? Seeing none? Oh, we got some. Sorry about that, Senator Barlow, I didn't see you there.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So members of the body, I think I actually have to read the rest of that sentence, the new language. And this is where it really does matter whether you use assessed value or fair market value. And that has to do with the cap, because the cap is on fair market value. But if you take 8.3 or 9.5, whatever the rate may be after this session on residential property, and that times 9.3 or 8.3 times or 9.5 times 3 million, that is a very different number. So you actually have to have the same, you talking about the same number. So this is fair market value for that cap. You have to use fair market value before. So I think it actually does matter whether it says assessed or not. It's not, they're not synonymous in the way this is, the context of this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Wright?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, the good senator from Campbell County there. The original bill before the $3 million cap referenced assessed value, and he's on the right track there. Once the cap came in, you had to change the bill to market value to fit with that cap. So I hope that helps explain it. Thank you.
Senator Case?
Chairman, I concur with that. Because we're adding market value as the criteria, you have to have the cap as the cap criteria, then we have to have the definition be for market value. But it doesn't change the amount of the taxes because of the definition of assessed value. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just math.
Senator Hicks?
So, Mr. Chairman, it looks to me, as I understand the explanation from my colleague from Fremont, it doesn't change the amount of value or taxes on that residence, but it'll change the difference on the total amount collected when we use the $3 million for the cap for market value versus assessed value. Is that correct? In other words, there's going to be more people captured now because of the, or fewer people captured because of the market value versus the assessed value. Does that come into play at all?
So, Mr. Chairman,
Senator Case?
we could have written this in terms of assessed value and derived a cap that was based on assessed value. We could have written the bill that way, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense. If you'd say you qualify for a property tax exemption based on an assessed value of 3 million times 8.3%, whatever that number is, that wouldn't make any sense to people. So this is understandable to people. They know what their home's worth. It's good to have the law read this way, but all we're saying is it works right with respect to the formulas. So this needs, if you're going to explain to people that the tax break is based on the market value of their home, then you have to define it with respect to market value in the law so that it's easy for them.
Further discussion? Question on the bill? All those in favor of Senator McEwen's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, to do so with the favorable consideration of House Bill 45, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Motion has carried. I'm sorry? Fix the conflict. Okay, House Bill 45 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 24. Would the reading clerk read the bill, please?
House Bill 24, review of charter school applications, an act relating to review of charter school applications, sponsored by Education, referred to Committee Number 4, which returned a do-pass recommendation, voting aye, Senators Brennan, Rothfuss, Schuler, Scott, excused Senator Olson, signed Senator Schuler, Chairman.
You heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure? Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that Senate File 24?
24.
Yes, 24, making sure I got the right one. Do pass. And with that, I would turn the time over to Senator Brennan to explain the bill.
Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill that was brought before the Education Committee in the interim to look at from the charter schools. And what we learned is that the charter school applications are large and take a lot to go through. And the Charter School Review Board they really want to do a good job in making sure that these charter schools, that they're allowing ones that are really set up for success. And so they said, we need a little bit more time than what is in current statute for processing and looking at these applications. So if you look on page 1, lines 15, the original language says the authorizer shall notify the applicant within 30 days of submission. This just strikes the within 30 days of submission, and it has to do with whether or not the application is complete. So they want a little bit more time to look over this. I will also note that this applies to actually whether this is the authorizing board or school districts can also authorize charter schools. So this applies to both authorizers, whichever way that might go. And then if you turn over to page 2, there we strike on lines 10, not later than 60 days. So we're just saying that after receiving an application for any charter school which has been determined to be completed, the authorizer shall hold a public hearing. And then currently it is the authorizer shall either approve or deny the application within 90 days, and they're asking for 120 days. So really all we're doing is we're extending the time for the authorizer so that they can have time to go out to visit the communities, to look at the applications, and really do their due diligence in approving these charter schools.
Thank you, Senator Brennan. Further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Senator Schuler's motion when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 24, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? House Bill 24 is passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 75. Would the reading clerk please read the bill?
House Bill 75, virtual currency kiosks, an act relating to trade and commerce, sponsored by Representative Clodston, engrossed, referred to Committee Number 9, which returned a do pass as amended recommendation, voting aye, Senators Anderson, Cooper, Jones, Nethercott, and Rothfuss, signed Senator Anderson, Chairman.
Senator Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 75 do pass. There is a standing committee amendment. Could we get that read in at this time?
House Bill 75, Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, page 2, lines 8 through 11.
Senator Anderson?
Mr. Chairman, to explain the standing committee amendment and the bill, I will call on the subject matter expert, Senator Rothfuss.
Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, House Bill 75, virtual currency kiosks, addresses a real concern that we've taken quite a bit of testimony on. We actually worked through this quite a bit in the interim through the Blockchain Select Committee, and then didn't end up with legislation during the Select Committee, but worked with the prime sponsor and a few stakeholder groups, as well as our Division of Banking, to finally get to the point where we have a piece of legislation that doesn't seem to have any significant loopholes and provides some protections. Mr. President, or Mr. Chairman, as a little bit of background here, these virtual currency kiosks are basically a way that you can go into, for example, a gas station or a supermarket or someplace where these are put down. They look like ATMs, and you can put money into them, and then you can purchase with your money virtual currency, cryptocurrencies, various digital assets. The concern, Mr. Chairman, is that these are being used in fraudulent ways quite frequently at this point in time. And we know that they're a vehicle or facilitating a lot of scams targeting people of all ages. And we're hearing about these where we've got fraud in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for individuals and up into the millions of dollars for the state per year. Nationwide, it's tremendous amounts of money. So you have these bad actors, these fraudsters, whether in the United States or in other countries, making phone calls and saying, hey, your grandson needs help and we need you to get a certain amount of money as quickly as possible. So you go get $10,000 from your bank, go to this cryptocurrency kiosk, this virtual currency kiosk, deposit it, and then send that money to this web address, this wallet address, and that'll take care of it. And then that's happening because, again, these fraudulent individuals are fairly convincing at it. They create an emergency, and they walk you through the emergency and how to solve it. They might also call on behalf of the IRS. They might call on behalf of Social Security. We heard a lot of different types of fraud. This bill provides a regulatory structure that doesn't exist at all at this point. So there is no regulation of virtual currency kiosks in existence right now. And what it does, Mr. Chairman, is it requires that if you want to operate a cryptocurrency kiosk in the state of Wyoming, then you're going to have to be licensed through our Division of Banking. And there's a couple of different means for doing that. If we look through the bill, briefly, page 2 is some definitions. We'll get to those in a moment when we look at the amendments, but the key concepts start at the bottom of page 3. No person shall own, operate, or manage a virtual currency kiosk in this state unless the person, 1, has been issued a license under the Wyoming Money Transmitters Act, or 2, is a financial institution and has been granted a charter under Title 13 of Wyoming statutes. So either of those two is a licensed regulated entity under our Division of Banking and is therefore subject to their rules. They are planning on promulgating substantial rules to regulate this type of behavior. You see also a B paragraph of a penalty provision, a C paragraph that gets into Commissioner adopting rules, and he's been working on this quite significantly to look at what best practices are out there. The rest of the language at the bottom of page 4 and onto page 5 at the top just gets to some confidentiality provisions we include for the Division of Banking in all of their statutes related to specific types of financial institutions. As the bill is drafted right now, you've got an enactment period beginning July 1st of 2026. That's going to be the target of the amendment. So with that, I'm going to walk through and explain the amendment. The amendment does two things. The first of the things that it does is goes into the definitions and eliminates on page 2, Romanets 2 and Romanet 4, which define existing user and new user. Mr. Chairman, over on the other chamber, they had an amendment that they tried to
Senator,
put
we
in.
need to move that amendment, please.
Yes, I will. I move Standing Committee Amendment number 1 to House Bill 75 and ask for favorable consideration. Has it been read in? Yes. It has been read in. Good. So they effectively divided an amendment. They stranded the second half of the amendment. They left in place the first half, which now does nothing. So this is effectively a cleanup to get rid of Romanets 2 and 4. And then the other substantive provision is moving forward the effective date such that this becomes effective immediately, which is the balance of the amendment. And Mr. Chairman, I'd call for the question on the amendment. If there are no questions, I'm happy to answer any on the amendment at this time.
Okay, all those in favor of Senator Rothfuss, excuse me, sorry about that. Here I am.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Olson.
I do have a question on this amendment. The cleanup is what it is, but I have a little bit of reservation about the effective date on this bill. My understanding is that there's a couple of kiosk providers in the state of Wyoming who have counsel, if you will. So, and they've been involved in the process as the bill was drafted and has passed through the legislative process. So they're very much aware that this law is coming. But my understanding is there are other kiosk providers who are unaware. They're probably unaware that this law is even being crafted, let alone when it will go into effect. And so I just want to ask the good committee if there was consideration about these entities that will, if it's effective immediately, they'll become felons immediately. There's no notice period. You know, typically with criminal laws, we don't necessarily enact them immediately because we want to make sure that there's a period of time for people to learn about the law before they become a felon. And don't get me wrong, these are extremely bad actors. I'm very much in favor of this legislation. I think it's long overdue. They've done a lot of harm to the state of Wyoming, but I am just a little concerned with the effective immediately that we would be felonizing people the moment that the ink hits the page.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was considered and disregarded. And the reason for that is the level of criminal activity and exploitation of our Wyoming citizens is so severe. And so we heard testimony that in Campbell County alone last year, it's estimated that at least $3 million was defrauded from the citizens of Campbell County from virtual currency kiosks located in convenience stores. We heard that it's estimated that there are 6 providers of these kiosks, 3 of which are actually registered as money transmitters through the banking commissioner in the state, and so they would not become immediate felons. So they've chosen to be, to follow the law, to be compliant. They're legitimate, they are known. They came with, they appeared at the committee, which was refreshing. This law is not new to Wyoming. In fact, this concern and this threat is happening all across the country. So I think the allegation or the concern that the non-licensed kiosk providers that are conduits to scam artists and criminal activity to defraud our citizens know full well that this legislation is passing across the country, and they are more than forewarned that their criminal activity is coming to an end rapidly. And so the need to immediately protect our citizens is far greater than these bad actors who continue to victimize our citizens.
Thank you. We are on Standing Committee Amendment number 1. Senator Anderson.
Yes, on Standing Committee Amendment number 1, we had 8 different people come and testify on this bill. We spent an awful lot of time talking about this bill, so we're pretty sure that every operator in the state knows we're working on it. Thank you.
Senator Anderson. Senator Landon. Did you have a question? No, okay. So question on the amendment? All those in favor of Senator Rothfuss's motion to adopt Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 75, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That amendment has passed, Committee of the Whole. Back on the bill, Senator Rothfuss? Oh, Senator Wright.
Not really. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not really a question, but I'm against this bill. I think it's just more government regulation. You got to get permission from the government to run a business, and you know, it's a misdemeanor. It looks like if you don't. I think the way I'd like to look at it is just stiffen the fraud penalties and not regulate everything so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion on the bill? Senator Rothfuss?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we regulate banks. We don't let banks do whatever they want. We regulate trusts. We don't let trusts do whatever they want. And there's good reason for that, because we have to have consumer protections in place to ensure that there are not abuses. This is a financial institution style engagement that has not had any regulation. And what we're doing is saying, if you're going to operate a financial institution in the state of Wyoming, then just like if you're a bank, just like if you're a trust, just like if you're a speedy, you're going to be subject to some rules to ensure that we have appropriate consumer protection and people are not fleeced as a result of it. Again, the folks operating these crypto kiosks, they're not propagating or perpetrating crime. They're not the source of the crime. But this easily facilitates substantial crime. And it's quite easy and straightforward to put parameters on that help to protect against that and protect consumers. And that's fair. That's the role of government. Getting back to my good friend who said the other day, you know, there's some good roles for government. I think one of those good roles for government is honestly to just put up signs every once in a while that says, hey, are you sure that that person you talked to on the phone is actually your grandson? You know, maybe think about that for a second. Are you sure they need $20,000 by tomorrow? Let's give it some thought, right? That's what we're looking at here, and we're looking at other provisions like first-time limitations, making sure that there's an established relationship, all standard practices when we're looking at financial institutions. This is very appropriate. It's very thoughtful. We've got an excellent banking commissioner and division of banking that knows just how to work through this, and we're very confident that this is going to provide substantial protections to the public.
Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senator Anderson's motion of the Committee of the Whole rise to report and do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 75, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. House Bill 75 has passed Committee of the Whole. Our next bill for consideration is House Bill 23. Reading clerk, please read in the bill.
House Bill 23, participation in 6 through 12 activities, an act relating to public school co-curricular and extracurricular activities, sponsored by Education, engrossed, referred to Senate Committee Number 4, which returned a due pass as amended recommendation, voting aye, Senators Brennan, Rothfuss, Schuler, Scott, excused Senator Olson, signed Senator Schuler, Chairman.
Senator Schuler, what's your pleasure?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, do so with the recommendation that Senate File 23, House Bill 23 do pass. And I will explain the bill. There is a standing committee amendment, if that could be read in.
House Bill 23, Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, page 1, above line 1.
Senator, would you like to move that amendment now?
No, I think I'll just hold on for just a second.
All right.
If that's all right. Let me just talk about the bill first. It's a very simple bill. There was some confusion last year, I think, when the ESA bill passed, that, you know, whether districts would allow kids that were homeschooled or that were involved in the ESA program or whatever. to be involved in activities. And so this bill came about as a result to try and provide some clarification. So basically, if you look on page 2, it says everything that the bill is about. Any school-age child who is a resident of the school district who is not under suspension or expulsion by a Wyoming school district and who is not enrolled as a full-time student in the district in which he resides shall be permitted by the district to participate in any activities offered by the district, including those that are sanctioned by the Wyoming High School activities. I'll go ahead and maybe I'll move the standing committee amendment now, number 1, to amendment HB 23.
Okay, on the amendment?
On the amendment, basically, this was actually a pretty good catch, I think, by a good senator here from Bates Creek, because we know that even though the high school activities, they only sanction sports and activities from 6th grade on up, we felt like there were some places where they have clubs and activities for kids in 4th and 5th grade, and so we felt like that if we just deleted that in the catch title 6 through 12 and inserted school, and then on page 1, line 3, we deleted it again, and page 2, line 6, then it would, it doesn't really affect the Wyoming High School activities. They still will only sanction those sports and activities from 6th grade up. But if you have a 5th grade chess club, a robotics club, cooking club, so on and so forth, those kids could still come in and be involved in that. So I thought it was a really good catch. So if there's any discussion on the standing committee amendment, I'd be happy to answer those questions.
Question on amendment, Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not opposed or for the amendment, but just pointing out that it is expanding the title of the bill, and we had a long discussion of that. Was there any discussion in committee about expanding the title of the bill past what it's normally doing? Thank you.
Senator Scott?
Mr. Chairman, yes, there was discussion of expanding the title, and in fact, that's what the page 1, line 3 amendment does, and that is perfectly normal. We're dealing with a simple amendment to the bill, and you need to change the title, and that's been done ever since I've been in the legislature, exactly this way. It's the same subject matter, Mr. Chairman, but it is a mild expansion because we are reaching, and frankly, Mr. Chairman, some of my motivation was my kids going to a one-room country school, came in and participated in the town school, in particularly intramural basketball in my district, and that's the kind of thing that these homeschooled kids would want to participate in, and it's quite appropriate and consistent with the purpose of the bill.
Further discussion on the amendment? Okay, all those in favor of Senator Schuler's motion to adopt standing committee amendment number 1 to House Bill 23, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That amendment has passed. Back on the bill, Senator Schuler.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Again, this went through our Education Committee. I think it's a really good bill, and I think it will be helpful to allow access for all of our kids in Wyoming to be able to participate in various activities. Happy to answer questions.
Senator Landon.
Mr. Chairman, just real quickly regarding this issue, I agree with the chairman. I think the bill is just fine. Where we aren't fine, and we need to take a look at this, I've already submitted an interim topic for our select committee, is to take a look at, as students leave the district, for example, stay as a homeschool student, that district loses that ADM with respect to major maintenance payments. So that actually reduces what the district receives to take care of that building. Whatever that might be, the gymnasium, the theater building, whatever. Even though that sounds like just a little bit, obviously it's something I think we want to get corrected as we roll out more homeschool students sticking at home and more charter schools. So we'll take a look at that. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you and I are on the same page because I had an interim topic on that as well, because that was brought up after we were through voting on the bill, visited with some folks in the room, and we did talk about the FTE issue. But one other thing I forgot to mention, which is kind of important on this bill, is that if there is a fee assessed to be a part of a cooking club, you maybe have to pay $5 to be part of, in that, or any other thing that may charge a fee, like a sports team or whatever. The homeschool kids or private school kids or virtual kids would still have to pay the same fee that a public school kid would have to pay. So I forgot to mention that. It's kind of an important part of the bill.
Further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senator Schuler's motion, when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 23, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? House Bill 23 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 25. Would the reader, clerk, please read in the bill?
House Bill 25, Wyoming's Tomorrow Scholarship Program Amendments, an act relating to Wyoming's Tomorrow Scholarship Program, sponsored by Education, referred to Committee Number 4, which returned a due pass recommendation, voting aye, Senators Brennan, Olson, Rothfuss, Schuler, and Scott, signed Senator Schuler, Chairman.
Senator Schuler, you're having a big day. What's your
Yes.
pleasure?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 25 do pass. This is a long bill, so stay alert on this one. But we're going to turn the time over to the good Senator Rothfuss.
Discussion on the bill? Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, House Bill 25 was a heavy lift from your Joint Education Interim Committee. It is a one-pager, which we love, and it is a repealer only. The Wyoming Tomorrow Scholarship Program we passed and implemented a few years ago and then funded recently. This provides for educational support through tuition and fees for non-traditional students, those over 26 years old. And one of the requirements that was put into it, which made absolutely no sense, and we never should have put it into it, was continuous enrollment for eligibility, which basically means that once you start this program, you have to continue your enrollment at a full-time basis throughout the years ahead to maintain eligibility. That is not consistent, as we took testimony during the interim, with how this really works. And the folks that are typically engaged in Wyoming Tomorrow Scholarship programs will go semester on, semester off, sometimes work part-time because they typically have full-time jobs, real life, and have kids and other things to deal with. So we're just repealing that continuous eligibility requirement. There's no change to the finances. There's no change to any other aspect of it. I'd be happy to answer any questions on this good little bill.
Further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor of Senator Schuler's motion, that when the committee of the whole rises to report it, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 25, please say aye. Those opposed? House Bill 25 is passed committee of the whole. Madam Majority Floor Leader, I'm out of bills. So, Senate will stand at ease until the sound of the gavel. Good senators, before we continue, I see some flowers on somebody's desk over here, and I understand they had a 20th wedding anniversary yesterday, and we didn't recognize that. So Senator Brennan, would you like to stand up and acknowledge your flowers and tell us how wonderful your husband is? Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is true. Yesterday was mine and my husband's 20th wedding anniversary. And people often ask me, how do you do all the things that you do? I don't do them alone. I have a wonderful husband at home who plays both mom and dad while we're in here working and does a great job. And that's no small feat with 4 children, and 2 of them are kind of rambunctious boys. So kudos to him, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here.
Congratulations, Senator Brennan. Okay, good senators. Our next bill for your consideration is House Bill 122. Reading clerk, please read in the bill.
House Bill 122, Wyoming Rural Health Transformation Program, an act relating to the federal Rural Health Transformation Program funds, sponsored by appropriations, referred to Committee Number 2, which returned a due pass recommendation, voting aye, Senators Driscoll, French, Garou, Larson, excuse Senator Salazar, signed Senator Salazar, Chairman.
Senator Salazar, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a recommendation that House Bill 122 do pass, and I will pass this along to my colleague where I almost broke my leg on his ski hill, and he'll explain the bill.
Senator Garou.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you, good afternoon, everyone. I bring you House Bill 122, and this one's kind of a big lift. And so I'm gonna walk you through, and I'm gonna say right off the top, this is a little bit on the complicated side. I'm gonna read to you about what this bill does and when it goes in. Then I know you're all gonna have a bunch of questions, and so what I'm gonna ask you to do is, if you could actually write them down and email them to me, and then I will have an answer for you tomorrow, because outside of rudimentary questions, I probably won't be able to answer, but you can give it a try. So here we go. This bill is made possible by President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. Mr. Chairman, the intent is for rural states to innovate and strengthen rural health care with a large focus on sustainability. In developing the state's application, the department that handles health-related matters prioritized public engagement to help develop the ultimate application. 8 in-person town hall meetings were held in rural communities, 3 town hall meetings held online. Statewide surveys were conducted following the town halls that generated over 1,300 responses. The people prioritized long-term and sustainable access to the basics, functioning and healthy rural hospitals with an emergency department and nearby access to OB services, financially sustainable EMS and ambulance services, bolstered direct care workforce, nurses, CNAs, and EMTs, and access to primary care. Wyoming submitted its application to the federal government on November 4th, 2025, and received a notice of award from the federal government on December 29th of the same year. Currently is in the process of budget negotiations with CMS, and we hope to wrap up over the next 30 to 60 days. This bill helps establish what Wyoming needs to implement the program in compliance with federal parameters, but most importantly, in a way that was custom designed to work for Wyoming, and with appropriate input and oversight from us, lawmakers. So on to the bill. Definitions on page 2 to 4, and it's specifically not a trust endowment. CMS in their frequently asked questions said these wouldn't be allowable. It's an annual-like product purchased by the federal government with no specific date, or hence perpetuity. The perpetuity fractional that is held by the federal government purchases purpose-dedicated shares in $1 million increments. In a latter section, we'll talk more about that, for specific allowable purposes. Both the quantity and the purpose are thus locked in by initial expenditures, which occur in the 5-year program period. This is similar to how when someone buys an annuity, you put your money down up front in exchange for a guaranteed schedule of payments. So the annual distribution from the perpetuity for the first 10 years. Whatever the perpetuity fund has earned during the previous fiscal year due to federal requirements, existing all programs during the program performance period, or 4% of the total funds deposited into the account. Clear as mud so far? Yeah, I can tell. After the first 10 years of the 4-year average of the 5-year market value, the objective here is to balance the risk and reward with predictable revenue for the allowable purposes. The advisory committee that's all defined on pages 2 through 4. Now, the advisory committee that's set up is on pages 5 through 7. And it comprises 9 voting members appointed by the governor who serve for 4 years, 2 executive branch ex officio members, 1 senator, and 1 representative as legislative liaisons. Their duties, Mr. Chairman: review operation and provides formal written recommendations requiring a written response from that group that does health responsibilities in the department downtown. And it reviews and approves grants and awards and expenditures in excess of $500,000, excluding perpetuity deposits. Now the perpetuity fund, of course, you'll turn to pages 7 through 10 to get this information. This is the investment vehicle that allows the state fund that guarantees the perpetuity shares sold to the federal government by generating returns from a variety of investments managed by our own state treasurer. Specifically allows the investment in equities that raises the bar for votes, continually appropriates the annual required distribution for allowable purposes. Next on page 10, establishment of the Rural Health Transformational Fund Program specifies that department of healthy folks shall administer the accordance with the plan and the rule promulgation direction. Also on page 11 through 16, perpetuity funded programs. This is where we get into the specifics. Specific allowable purposes for the annual required distribution of expenditures. Specifies percentage allocations, but allows some flexibility based on recommendations from the advisory committee. These are the programs that are included. 1, Critical Access Hospital Basic Program on page 11 and 12, which creates incentive for hospitals to offer critical services like emergency room, time-sensitive conditions for trauma or stroke, which you're probably getting from listening to this presentation. Capability, ground EMS to labor or delivery. Probably not any of that from this, but EMS reorganization, pages 12 through 14, which creates incentives for similar services in a continuous geographic region to band together to reduce administrative overhead. Includes specific protections and response times not to be increased under the reorganization. Next, workforce individual support. This is on page 14 through 15. To grow the supply of nurses, EMTs, primary care providers of behavioral health. In the Orwellian language of federal bureaucracy, these are not technically scholarships, but they're a 5-year service requirement in Wyoming. Next, physician postgraduate medical education. You see this on page 16, prioritizing family medicine and obstetrics. 5-year commitment for underserved counties. And this is something I know we had taken up in some of our interim studies about maternity deserts. Exercise and diet programs, which I need, is on page 18. We have a lot of outdoor activities in Wyoming, so we favor applications that get people outside. Next, statewide telespecialists. This is on page 18 and 19. An idea that certain specialties, psychiatry and, I'm not even going there, are very expensive, so pooling volume on statewide telebasis telehealth might have lower costs. Ideally, the willingness to pay for this later so we can be sustained after 5 years. Next, workforce education startup on page 19. The idea is to prime the pump for workforce supply initiative noted previously. Let colleges and other educational institutions build curriculum and workforce, like we're doing at CWC Jackson, by the way, that backfill this one-time dollars with individual education awards later. Next, page 19 and 20, care coordination. The idea is to help reduce costs and event rates, emergency department visits and hospital stays for Medicare, Medicaid, dual eligibilities. There are about 12,000 of the folks in Wyoming. We would do a randomized control trial to see if these ideas work for, wait a minute, I lost something here. Work for Medicaid, for centralized billing on page 20. Voluntary programs similar to EMS providers to reduce their admission overhead and maximize their revenue collection by contract with a larger biller. Next, non-emergency transportation coordination. This is on page 20. The goal is to see if we can build an Uber-like platform for seniors and people with disabilities to schedule their appointments. Next, administration costs on page 21. We have committed to CMS to spend less than 1% of the total funding of this program on administration. Prohibited uses and reporting on pages 22 and 23. No sex changes, no abortions. Next, grants in excess of $500,000 require advisory committee approval and notice to the legislature within 10 days, Mr. Chairman. State Budget Department will remain online dashboard to show current information on all expenditures, so they'll be able to be tracked. Next, reporting requirements for recipients on page 23, 24. Recently amended the House Appropriations only to include providers receiving funds from the perpetuity, not the limited time grants. Requires reporting of physical indicators like margin, cash on hand, liquidity ratio, as well as plans to modernize revenue cycle management, reduce non-essential services and shared service arrangements, etc. Requires the submission of independent financial audits, Mr. Chairman. Failing to comply with reporting triggers repayment of all prorated amounts. So you don't do your paperwork, off you go. Uncodified session law on pages 26, 27, Section 2, rulemaking. Section 3 requires joint labor to study policy issues in the Rural Health Transformation Program. Example, the scope of practice issues, and prepare legislation. These are specifically incentivized for the additional federal funds possible. Section 4 appropriates funding to that health department with 80-20 target for perpetuity and time limited in funds. Section 5, the effective date is effective immediately. That is a general walkthrough of House Bill 122, the Rural Health Transformation Program. And I can stand for questions, but I probably won't be able to answer them, but I will get answers for you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator DeGroot, for that complete and direct explanation of that simple little bill. Any discussion? Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, we've had quite a problem in the state recently with our hospitals and hospitals in financial distress. And, Mr. Chairman, there are two causes to that problem. For the critical access hospitals, which are the majority of hospitals in the state, there's 25 beds or less, the federal government's supposed to reimburse at basically 100%, I think 99.5% of their actual costs when it comes to Medicare, which is the largest share of the book of business. And they have not been doing that recently because they've been just slow in catching up with the inflation. For the larger hospitals, Medicare has systematically discriminated against Wyoming for quite a number of years. It's a pretty sophisticated way of doing it, and I could elaborate if anybody wanted to, or if anybody wanted me to privately. But my understanding was that the intent of the provision in that big, beautiful bill was to fix those particular problems. And I have a couple questions. One of them is, I don't see any real mention of the larger hospitals. I heard about the critical access ones, but what about the larger ones? And they are in some trouble, Mr. Chairman. And I have also heard that the federal government, the CMS bureaucracy, essentially put us in a set of regulations that defeats the purpose of what the Congress did, at least what I was told from a reliable source that they were attempting to do. And would want to know is are we really, how badly are we restricted here by what the federal government is up to? Mr. Chairman, and then I'll fundamentally ask the question, is this whole bill actually going to do any good? I have, frankly, some reservations, and maybe I simply don't understand the program, because I don't. But I am wondering about that.
Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just make a general comment. There are current, still ongoing discussions between the state and the federal government. And I'm not going to disparage the federal government, but their position is not completely clear to us. And I think we're in the process now of still getting more information. And I think, and I speak only for myself, there is a point where this may not be in the interests of the state, depending on what the federal regulations are and what the requirements are for the use of the money. So, but we're not at that stage yet. We're still in the stage of finding out what this offers, and so I know it's an ambiguous answer, but that's currently where we're at right now on this. So,
Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think better be careful here. There again, this is another big government program. You know, more dependency on government funding. You know, the bringer of the bill had some good testimony, and that was a good example of how big a government bill this is, technically. And it just, you know, it's a little bit like everything. You know, the big beautiful bill, as was mentioned from my friend behind me, they had to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion in that big beautiful bill to fund stuff like this. So there's consequences to funding these programs, and if down the road we don't comply with the federal government, they could do a rug pull on us and we would be stuck with funding all of this stuff. So I'm not a big fan of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Grew.
I'd be glad to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe, it was also asked by one of my colleagues about, would Meals on Wheels be a part of this? Could it be a part of this? And then the question about larger hospitals from the good senator from Bates Creek, the CMS questions about, are they making rules that are defeating the purpose of this, and will this bill do any good? I can't answer those right now, but here's what I do know. This is a big program. We're talking about in the state of Wyoming on a per capita basis, because of probably our congressional delegation and just general feelings of love towards the state of Wyoming. We're getting as much money per capita as anyone else in this program. The $5 trillion that the good senator brought up, we're getting a pretty good hunk of that money in this program. before third reading, I think the plan right now is to have the folks from that department that's kind of riding herd on this to come and talk to us in private session to help answer some of the questions, especially the good questions from the senator from Bates Creek. I think, I'm not going to even try, but they are going to come and try to work through. There are, as my chairman mentioned, there are a lot of moving parts right now in negotiations going on. This perpetuity fund that we have put forth is something that they're struggling with a little bit out there back east, and they like it, but they're not sure they love it because it doesn't, this is the part that you're gonna like the least, is it doesn't spend money fast enough for them, which used to be always reserved for my party, but seems to be working for others now. But anyway, that's a different story, but that seems to be a bit of a hang-up, and so we're gonna have to talk through that. So they're going to come on third reading and talk about that and try to answer those questions as best we can, so that may help bring this along.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know how many of you attended the Wyoming Rural Health Transformation Programs that they had around the state, but I attended the one in my neck of the woods, and the Deputy Director of Department of Health did a fantastic job trying to explain how this was going to work. The things that kind of interested me and I thought were really positive was it's going to be a lifeline, I think, for some of our hospitals out there, some of our rural hospitals that are struggling, they're hanging on barely, and I think this will be very helpful for them. But they also talked about workforce training, possibly trying to get more nurses. We always need more nurses. I think the good senator from Cheyenne will tell you that. And also help our EMS services. So those three things right there really made an impact on me. And granted, it's federal money, and think what you want about federal money, but if it'll help our hospitals stay in business for a lot of our folks that aren't near a big hospital, I think it'll be amazing. And we do need more nurses, and we do need more help with our EMS services. So thank you.
Senator Landon.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I really appreciate the senator from Teton County walking us through that bill. That was quite a gargantuan feat there. And I do commend whoever wrote that. That's good. I'm a little mystified as to why we're focused on the perpetuity gland and not the rest of the body. But I am hearing, Mr. Chairman, from several healthcare providers that this is a very complicated process that's being stood up. And if we're hearing that already, that concerns me, because I agree with the senator from the Southwest. It stands to benefit a lot of our hospitals out there, but a lot of our critical access hospitals don't have people standing around that can devote weeks at a time just to put in a grant request. So I'm a little bit worried and I don't know if that's us or if that's us because of this federal grant program saying you better include all of this stuff that we've got to walk through. So that's the part that I'm going to be watching to see if we can really roll this out the way that it's set up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the body. Certainly there's a lot in this bill, and I guess if you want to maybe a summary and to get really to the numbers, go to the fiscal note. That seems to be where the programs, both the limited time and the long-term ones, are clearly outlined, or not clearly outlined and described, but at least bullet pointed so you can see where they are. But I think the most important thing I want to understand is, because we're taking a portion of the money and putting it into this perpetuity fund, and then we're taking some of it and spending it immediately. So what I guess, as folks bring more information, and if that good department that's going to utilize, is going to further explain this, maybe offline somewhere, I think it's the fiscal note and then the ties to these different programs, which like I said, they're bullet pointed here in the fiscal note. And I think it's much easier to understand here in the percentages. What does that actually give us? So I'll just take one of them out of the perpetuity fund expenditures. Physician postgraduate medical education, 10.8%. What is that giving us? Is that giving us so many doctors per year? Is that giving us so many residencies per year? What do we buy with that 10.8% based on the amount of the earnings of the perpetuity? So I think that would be helpful for me, at least on this longer term look. And then the short term look, here's one that I'm interested in: centralized billing capacity. What can that possibly mean in a community, in a state that has as many as many hospitals as we do, clinics, et cetera? What is a centralized billing capacity? Is that within the department? Is that statewide, some kind of a unified system? So I think just some more fleshing out of some of the details would be helpful from my perspective. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Brennan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess one question, I don't know if we have the answer to this today, as we look at this money coming in, what does happen if we don't get a bill passed this session? Then what happens to the money would be my one question. In looking through this bill, somebody asked about larger hospitals and that there might be some needs here. And I like what our former speaker said, if you look at the fiscal note, it does a great job of breaking down all the parts of what are in this bill. And I will just say that as we talk both in here and as I work out in the world of healthcare, that these are really top issues that continually come up within the state, and how do we deal with them? And there are some great opportunities, especially with like some of the technology adaptation challenges with telespecialists. Those are things that our larger and smaller hospitals can really work on together so that we can get good healthcare throughout the state of Wyoming. So I do appreciate the thoughtfulness on the things that were put in to this bill. I think it's a great start on really helping Wyoming transform in its healthcare and what we can deliver to the citizens.
Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just wondering if we've fractionalized the money too much, because it would really help to have those amounts and what we can anticipate. Because when you start, especially in the limited time initiatives, is that really going to be enough money to be helpful? Or should we really be thinking about tackling the large problems that we all know we're facing, and the previous speaker alluded to? And so just maybe a little more discussion on that. The other thing is the regionalization, and are we, for someone to participate, are we saying they have to regionalize, Mr. Chairman, or will there be money provided for EMS that are serving our more rural communities? I understand regionalization for the I-20 or the I-80 corridor. We've looked at that issue and the problems that we're facing there. However, in some of our more rural areas, regionalization may not be quite as effective.
Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I've got both some words supporting this bill and some real reservations in it. Mr. Chairman, I think the perpetuity fund is probably fundamentally a good idea, because if we were to have 500 million dropped on us on a spend it in the next year or two basis, frankly, I think a lot of the money would be frittered away and wouldn't do any good. I think that's what happened in part in the education bill that got dropped on us right after the COVID epidemic, where it was that kind of a situation. And some of it was put to good use, and some of it was frittered away. So I think that's a creative idea. But Mr. Chairman, I do have a question and a concern on that.
are we going to lock ourselves in to an expenditure pattern that is set forth here, or are we going to be able to change that over time as needs change? Are we essentially giving the bureaucracy a fund that they can spend for the bureaucratic imperatives that may not be the imperatives that help our citizens the most? So that's my concern on that perpetuity fund. And really, when you come right down to it, it's a thing like this. Big federal government program, you got to comply with a bunch of bureaucratic regulations. I'd be tempted to say we're being bribed with our own tax money. And are we really getting what we want out of it? But I don't think that would be accurate. But I don't think it's our tax money. I think it's borrowed money that's going to get us in fiscal trouble later on, and not very much later on. So, but what good will we do if we turn it down and everybody else takes it? Mr. Chairman, this is an extraordinarily difficult decision to make. And I'm really worried about how much we are locking ourselves into the future in ways that we might want to change, and are we going to be able to do that in the future?
Senator Landon?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I don't want to belabor, but this is a big consideration and there's a lot to it. Just a couple of thoughts on the education piece, because I've been sitting back here looking at 2 or 3 pages of an outline of what this funding is supposed to do for education. My caution there is that if there are numbers attached to whatever our grant award is, it's not going to be very easy for us to go out there and find additional students. We find ourselves right now in Wyoming at a time when 44 out of our 48 school districts are losing students. You know, our community colleges, for example, a real emphasis in this bill on nursing, that's actually one area that we're able to help our nursing students a lot. That's the most contributions we get to a foundation at a community college is for nursing scholarships. So we're pretty saturated there, and our colleges out across the state are doing a great job in nursing education now. So some of these areas that this bill points toward, you know, the good senator from Campbell County pointed to one. We just want to look at that and make sure what do they mean postdoctoral, and we already have programs through the University of Wyoming that are helping doctors to get here and stay here. I'm just not sure how much more money is going to be able to help us on some of these line items. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think there's probably another fundamental question that needs to be asked is the executive branch actually made an application to the federal government for access to the funds that were provided. I've heard in the comments today on this bill that there are some, I guess, tensions between what the state of Wyoming's requests have been and what the federal government maybe sees as their preferred approach. And I guess what I want to understand better from the proponents as we go through, it doesn't have to be today, is are we actually going to be, one, handcuffing ourselves by passing legislation, and we'd be better off authorizing, or if we need to authorize, the executive branch to accept these monies when we're out of session? Because I would hate to get out of session and then the agreement and what we do here falls apart, and then we've authorized something that is not possible, and then we've handcuffed both our communities from accessing those funds and our agency and the executive branch from providing those funds. So some discussion about that. Like I said, I don't maybe expect it in this reading, but as we continue further and get better understanding, that would be appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great discussion, great questions, great concerns. And the last questions actually were why I'm standing here. This was an application from the chief executive downstairs to the department, or to the federal government, who agreed in principle with the appropriation, and the amounts were agreed to. Now they're working through the details. It was brought to us, your Joint Appropriations Committee, as a budget item, just to be put in the budget and let that department and the executive branch handle this. Your Joint Appropriations Committee felt differently. We felt that the legislature needed an imprint on it through appropriating massive amounts of money. A bill an idea this size and this magnitude needed and demanded, Mr. Chairman, some legislative input. That's why this bill is in front of you today. So the question, and that's why, as you know, instead of an interim committee who tackled the whole thing like a Labor Health Committee would have done, your Labor Health Committee would have gone through it and been able to answer every question and been able to go through it. The Joint Appropriations Committee didn't quite have that level of detail. There were some pieces of their proposal that did not make it into this bill. Your Appropriations Committee were very concerned about one section about catastrophic health care. And that is not in this bill because it didn't make it past appropriations. They were concerned about costs down the road to the state, and so it got taken out. So the question that was brought up, should we even be doing it this way? That's real. We could just put this bill aside and let the chief executive or their successors work with the department and line item that money out, B11, and just move along. Or we can put our stamp on it. Through the wonders of technology, the folks over at that department are listening right now and have heard every question that you've asked and have assured me that by second reading, they're going to have some answers that they'll be able to provide. And then, like I say, try to get together and get a situation where we can sit down in a more private setting and really get to some of the real concerns right now, the concerns the administration has, Mr. Chairman, and the concerns that we all have, and try to make sure those get through. This is a delicate negotiation process, and we're going to work through it as best we can. But your Appropriations Committee, the bottom line here is that they wanted you to have this input. They wanted you to have these questions to be asked, to flesh out, and to try to come to a conclusion that's best for the state of Wyoming, and that's why we're here. So I look forward to any other questions you have, send them to me and I'll forward them along. You can send them directly to the department if you'd like. But they will get answers, we'll get answers for you, and between now and second and third reading, we'll get answers. And we can continue this dialogue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Grew. Further discussion? Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to give a little color to the fact about labor health dealing with this bill, I think we were on our last meeting when the application was approved, and so we weren't able to handle this. It needed to go to appropriations because they were still meeting and we were not. So I'm very thankful to have this discussion. I think you've come up, I really do like the look of the permanent fund and being able to utilize it in that way. But looking forward to further discussion and further answers to our questions. Appreciate appropriations work on this. I'm really thankful you took it up, and wish we could have had more time to help with that.
Thank you, Senator. It's great discussion. All those in favor of Senator Salazar's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 122, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? House Bill 122 is passed Committee of the Whole. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 28, Will the read clerk please read the bill?
House Bill 28, Sexual Exploitation of Children Amendments, an act relating to crimes and offenses, sponsored by Representative Strzok, referred to Committee Number 1, which returned a do-pass recommendation. Voting aye, Senators Craigo, Crum, Hicks, Kolb, and Olson. Signed, Senator Olson, Chairman.
Senator Olson, what is your pleasure?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, that it do so with a do-pass recommendation for House Bill 28. And there are no standing committee amendments on this clean little bill, and I will turn over the explanation of it to the good senator from Converse County.
Senator Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, we have House Bill 28 here. This bill seeks to define more clearly the crime of sexual exploitation of children by amending the definition of explicit sexual conduct. The definition of the term currently includes lascivious expedition of the genitals or pubic area of any individual. This bill would amend this provision by including the chest or breasts of a female. So this was an issue within a community in Converse County. An individual who possessed graphic images of young children was able to have a reduced sentence because a number of those photos were not allowed under current statute. So to be clear, this definition would not criminalize breastfeeding photos or bath time photos of babies. The term lascivious means sexually suggestive or lewd, and so that's already in the definition, so there has to be that ill intent in there. Also, I'd point out that in 6-4-303B, which is the element that gives, I guess, operation to the definition we're considering, there has to be knowingly, that the individual has to knowingly engage in this lascivious behavior. So that's the bill. It does plug a gap, I think, in our statutes. If you look to, say, for example, 6-4-305, which is dissemination of nude image by a minor, by a minor, you have this language in there. And so we can speculate as to why this language is not currently in there, but as it's being used or not used by our county prosecutors, they're identifying this gap that doesn't make much sense to them. They've asked for this bill, and so here it is. So certainly stand for any questions on this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Senator Bonner. Further discussion on the bill?
Question.
Seeing none. All those in favor of Senator Olson's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 28, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? House Bill 28 has passed Committee of the Whole. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Please say aye. Those opposed? Motion is passed.
All right, let's hear that Committee of the Whole report.
Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole, having under consideration bills on general file, begs leave to report as follows. House Bill 2 engrossed, do pass. House Bill 128, do pass amended. House Bill 45 engrossed, do pass. House Bill 24, do pass. House Bill 75 engrossed, do pass amended. House Bill 23 engrossed, do pass amended. House Bill 25, do pass. House Bill 122 engrossed, do pass. House Bill 28, do pass. Senator Cooper, Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Cooper.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report.
All right, you've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Committee of the Whole report has been adopted. Thank you, Senator Cooper. All right. It's like we have a standing committee report.
Mr. President, dated February 26, 2026, your Committee Number 6, Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources, to whom was referred House Bill 19 engrossed, corner crossing clarification, respectfully report same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass as amended. Senators voting aye, Senators Boner, Landon, and Schuler. Voting no, Senators Hicks and Jones. Signed, Senator Landon, Chairman.
Thank you. Just got another enrolled act hot off the press. With that order of business, signing enrolled acts. Enrolled Joint Resolution 1, Senate Joint Resolution 1.
Enrolled Joint Resolution 1, originally Senate Joint Resolution 1, State Management, Federal Leases, a joint resolution requesting Congress to introduce a bill and enact a law.
Thank you. I'm about to sign enrolled joint resolution number 1, being original Senate Joint Resolution 1. I have so signed. Thank you. Clearing the desk here, is that everything? All right. Madam Majority Floor Leader, that clears the desk.
Mr. President, I move that we stand recessed until 10 a.m. Thursday, February 27th.
All right. Thank you.
Today's Wednesday. Friday. Friday.
It's like deja vu
February
all
27th.
over again.
I don't know what day it is. Friday, February 27th, 10 a.m.
Friday, 10 a.m. All right. Announcements. Announcements. Any committee announcements? All right. Going once. Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just another reminder that educational meeting in the morning, 8 o'clock, the same place, WL6. We have one bill, HB 159, safeguarding personal expression at K through 12 schools, but we also have our interim topics due tomorrow. So get those in tomorrow if you have any ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Olson.
Mr. President, your committee number 1 judiciary will meet tomorrow upon noon recess in room 006. So there is a change in rooms. We get in the bigger room because we're going to have Firearm Day in the Judiciary Committee. We're going to look at 3 bills: House Bill 39, Firearms Rights Restoration Amendments; House Bill 95, Concealed Carry Colleges and Universities; and House Bill 96, Carrying of Concealed Weapons Age Requirement.
All right. That was good. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Joint Conference Committee will be meeting tomorrow upon noon recess in E301, and obviously we will be going over SF001 and HB001 on general government appropriations. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds exhilarating. Senator Landon.
Mr. President, thank you. I don't have anything much to do with this other than the work we did over the last 3 years. We established the Capitol Gallery, and I noticed that there's a Governor's Arts reception down there this evening, and a lot of great artwork, and it's a kind of a nice place to stop by. So 5 to 7, it looks like they have that reception going on tonight.
Great. Thank you, Senator Landon. Senator Anderson.
Mr. President, your favorite committee, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, will meet tomorrow, Friday, February 27th, in the Capitol Extension Room W4 to hear 2 bills. House Bill 16 engrossed, Secretary of State expedited filings. House Bill 120 engrossed, Energy Product Reclassification and Sovereignty Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Senator Landon, what did you forget?
Mr. President, I don't know if the chairman was here and announced this earlier. I apologize if he was, but Corporations Committee does meet in the morning. I believe he announced that for 8 o'clock back at noon, and I'm sorry I don't have those bills in front of me, but those interested, please look on the website. Corporation tomorrow morning at 8.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Privilege of the floor.
Sure.
I want to recognize my friend and constituent from Big Piney and my encourager, friend Murphy Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the Senate. Thanks for traveling all that way. All right, any more announcements? Seeing none, you've all heard the majority floor leader's motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. The Senate will stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Friday morning.